Hello and welcome to you all. When I was doing the video of Uranus and Saturn that they are about to make a trine at the end of the year and so on, I was very I talked already too much. I just did the monthly horoscopes. I was talking a bit about manic depression and also these planets, and I got some comments and people wrote to me, can you make a video on that? And I was about to do that anyway. So yeah, this video is about the disease, the mental disease, bipolarity, or it is also called manic depression. And I don't want to talk about the disease too much. What I want to talk about, most importantly, is the astrology, how it can be a tool to deal with it, with that disease, to deal with it, not to cure it in 1, 2, 3, no, to... and I've seen it quite a few times that astrology can simply not deal with all your problems. No, but it is such a divine tool because it shows what energies are going on, and it's like, if you know that, okay, we're in a phase of Uranus now, you can warn people, and especially who've got this disease. This is a huge amount of information that they have, and then of course they need to deal with it still, but it does a lot with I was surprised by it myself, that astrology can help with people who have that disease, because again, let's talk about first what it is, because I don't only want to talk about the astrology around it and how it can help. I also want to talk a bit more about what it is, because I think these days, and I probably have mentioned it in other videos, that people give names to each other, you know, in relationships or whatever, or you're manic depressed, or you're a narcissist. I live with some clients come to me that I live with a narcissist, and then I ask them what it's all about, and really, I ask myself the question, you put a label on someone very quickly, don't you? And so it is with society. We put labels very... even I'm labeling this with this video about Uranus and Saturn. But I think it's interesting to explain a bit more what it really is, because I think when it comes to mental issues, I think a lot of people are not aware of what it really is. And so what is depression and what is being in a manic state? I think everyone knows what depression is, but people who have this disease, they go, of course, more to the extremes. So everyone has felt that it's difficult to stand up and to put your socks on every day. These things, they are kind of, you know, the dullness of life, you could say, but people who have this disease, they go very deep. It's not about, oh, I don't know what to do with my life. It's about, I don't want to wake up anymore. It's about, I don't want to eat. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I'm totally useless. I have no self-esteem anymore. That is all the depressive state. And when you are in it, it's like hell, because it's a state of mind. These are the traits of, you could say, Saturn, the negative traits of Saturn, because Saturn is also a planet that pushes you really hard, you know, it's, and especially when you've got it with the sun or with moon, then, so I mean in an aspect, then you will be vulnerable for that. You will be vulnerable for feeling worthless, notwithstanding the fact that you have more competences than other people, because that's the other flip side of it, that people who've got strong Saturn on sun or moon are very competent in the areas of life that it is situated in your chart. So they can be very competent people, but even that is not enough. And Pluto is a bit different. So Pluto again can also be fear and loss of fear of loss of control, but it goes deeper. It's more traumatic. With Saturn, it's really I'm not good enough, and it's that feeling. For instance, let's say you have a kid and it does not good at school. For instance, it really has to struggle because it has, let's say, it has a handicap. You have a child who doesn't hear very well. And because of that, it must do much more effort to be normal, and therefore you compare yourself, for instance, with all your friends who've got happy children and having the best grades and all of that. You know, when you've got a very strong Saturn, you can feel really envying those people that do have that lightness about them when it comes to their kids, for instance, and you can feel very, very alone there. So that's all Saturn. Saturn is all very deep, deep, deep. But people who've got this bipolarity, it goes to the extreme. So they have periods in their life when they are almost paralyzed. They can't do anything anymore. They can't just standing up and again putting your clothes on and making coffee, and all of these things become an effort to do so because you're in that state of mind. That's the depressive side of the illness, and I think most of us understand that and have a bit of a understand that. Well, some people think that that's an opinion, that's not important, but we know what depression is about, mostly. The other state is manic, the manic state, which is a state that a lot of people underestimate when it comes to the disease of manic depression. I know some people who have this disease, and one of them it was actually a colleague, and he said, I'm more afraid of those manic states because in a manic state, it's and you can relate that a bit to Uranus, because it's a state where you feel very free, very independent. You feel you can do everything. You feel almost as if you are a god, you could say. It's the negative side of Uranus. It's the negative side of Uranus is I do it my way or the highway, and I'm rebelling here against everything, and I don't care about other people. It's just me here. And so people who are then in that state, they put themselves under tremendous risk. So and for every person with this disease, it's different. One can be very reckless with, I can stand on a rock, for instance, and almost falling off the rock or whatever, or getting all drunk and then swimming in the sea, for instance, and getting drowned or whatever. So they don't know about risk. And at the same time, this is a very nice feeling for these people because they feel they can conquer it all. I remember that man who had this disease told me, well, the good thing about this is the feeling that I feel I can get every woman, and not that it is I can seduce every woman, and I feel I'm very strong, and I feel I have it all, and that boost that you get is tremendous. It's like getting in a Formula One, I suppose, and going very, very fast through life and taking really, really high risks. And so it's like that adrenaline kind of energy, and that feeling that because they do that, they feel very much alive. It probably has to do with lots of chemicals going into your body or going through your body. But I don't want to go into these technical things here. But of course, and if let's say you have a nice relationship and you go, and of course people who have this disease are also having sometimes other problems and can have, for instance, addictions to alcohol, let's say, or others, or to drugs and so on. And when they are in that manic state, they go towards those drugs. And they, of course, when you have, for instance, a good relationship, a fairly good relationship, and then you just go around and you just are going to do things that you later on will regret. And that's what this person said to me. He said, Veerle, after you had that manic state, how many people I have to apologize for. So it is very painful because you are very aware at that moment of what you did, and you can be very cruel to people as well, because you so other people will have it in their they will buy 3 houses, for instance, with money they don't have, or they will buy whatever they want to have, but cannot deal with it. Or they will say what they say is the truth, and they will just attack other people who are not with them, you could say. So, of course, then afterwards you have to apologize to these people who you've hurt. And of course, it's always the people that you love the most that you're gonna hurt the most. So yes, this manic state is often less present in that disease, but it's very wrecking. It wrecks you. And both the planets Uranus and Saturn, whether it is that manic state or that depressive state, it's isolation that is occurring when these people are going through these phases. So they're not always having trouble, but sometimes they feel that very Saturnal energy, and sometimes they feel that very Uranus energy at its worst, which is just cutting yourself off, and with high prices. So you see that also on a social level, it is really it's really difficult to deal with for the person. But, and this is often forgotten, it is also very difficult to deal with when you are in a relationship with someone that has the disease, because I often see clients with people who live in a relationship with a person that is diagnosed with that, and often there is no therapy for these people. There is no all the care goes to the people who has the disease, but not to the people who are around them and who are, of course, also affected by it. So yes, and so it's really painful. I think it's a really painful thing, because you know that it is happening, but you have no control over it. And of course, you can say to people, "Oh, take a pill or two, yeah," and then it's all done. But it also is the characteristic. Someone who has this. Now let's have a look at the astrology. Someone who has this disease, you see it very easily in a chart. So this is something that you can pick up very easily in a natal chart. Why? Because it's so obvious. It's 2 different traits that people have. The very dark, the very serious trait, and the very, I can do everything. I'm God here. And so these are 2 different parts of a personality that you can see easily in a chart. When? Well, with and again, I want to stress here that if you're saying, "Oh, I have these aspects in my chart," you're probably not having the disease at all, because before you have this disease, it is really because your social life is mostly absolutely wrecked, and you might have been really gone through a lot of painful situations with your social life. And I mean social life, not only your love relationship, I mean all relationships, work, whatever, because you're constantly it has a very big effect on connecting with others, which we are all about connecting with each other, right? And you could name it love. Love is about connecting, and we are here to connect with each other. We are here to be an individual and to have that individuality, but we are also here to connect. And when this is something that these people are absolutely having such a rough time to get there. So, but again, I'm going to name some things in astrology here. But if you're saying, I'm having a fairly good relationship, or I'm having a social life here, or I'm not feeling isolated at all, you're not having the disease. But you can have those traits, characteristics that are a bit similar there, but it doesn't do you any harm. But what I'm talking about here is when it does harm you and others in your environment, because you're not suffering here alone. You're suffering with the ones that are close to you, and that is because the Saturn there, the person who has this is also very strong Saturn, has this strong Saturn energy, so they will feel the guilt of that as well. They will feel very guilty and responsible on a very deep level of their inadequacy that they have. So, how do you see this very easily? You see this, that a man and a woman, it doesn't matter, has strong aspects. And with strong, I mean a conjunction, a square, or an opposition. With Saturn and with Uranus on the Sun and on the Moon, or the Ascendant. To a lesser you can say the ascendant as well, but basically I'm giving you an example. Someone, let's say a man has a Sun conjunct Saturn and has a Moon squaring up to Uranus. Now, is this man going to be manic depressive? No, not at all. It can be, there's only a small chance that he will develop this, but there is definitely the characteristics of what I just described. The characteristics of either feeling worthless, feeling, and especially for a man, Sun Saturn or Sun Uranus for a man is harder than Moon Uranus and Moon Saturn. The same for women. Women who've got Moon Saturn or Moon Uranus is harsher than when they have it with the Sun. It's simply because a woman is a woman and a man is a man. It's simply because of that. But if for instance, take a man has these two aspects, there will be characteristics of that. Again, it doesn't mean to say you judge them as bipolar. No, but it means that this person will need will experience both energies quite strongly. The Sun Saturn, which is all about who am I and can I show who I am, and is it ever going to be good enough? And then the Moon square Uranus, where do I belong? Where do I belong? And I need my independence. So, but I also want to be a part of it. You see that isolation versus connectedness here. These people will all have that experience in some way. And you could also have, for instance, a Sun with a trine to Saturn, and a Moon in an opposition to Uranus. You can, I have that actually, but they will experience that in a better way, especially with the Sun in a trine to Saturn, but they will know what these energies are all about, and they will need both. They will need the excitement of Uranus in their life, and they will need to be in that independence, but they will also need the seriousness and the responsibility that they want to take in life. So again, it doesn't mean that you have the disease, but I see time and time again very strongly when people have that, they have this in conflicting difficult aspects. So again, a woman could have, for instance, the Moon conjunct Saturn and the Sun in a square to Uranus. Or a woman can have the Sun with conjunct Uranus, and so also in their identity they long for independence, and they long for, look, this is my way, and why don't you follow my way? Why don't you understand me? This is the Sun Uranus person, standing there alone and doing that alternative route, and being very frustrated about other people not getting them. And so you can have a woman who's got this, and then on the other hand, the Moon Saturn, which is harsh for a woman to have, because she feels very not seen, you could say, and she doesn't really know how to deal with her own needs and how to be in balance of that. So yes, I always have seen these aspects playing around when people have this this disease, this contradiction between being very high, being very low. So of course, and lots of us go through highs and lows, but that depends on other planets quite often. So yeah, now, why is astrology interesting for people who've got this, or people who live with a person who has this? It's quite interesting because astrology is like a clock. It's like it can show very easily, and that's why and I've worked with some clients, and it has up until now worked out very well in supporting. You know, again, you cannot. This is something that you will have to deal with your whole life, but you can smoothen that out a little bit when you are aware of the transits. That is, and then I look in particular at the transits, that Saturnal kind of transits or Uranian kind of transit. If you see, for instance, that someone is having, and it can be the fast planets, you know, the personal planets like Mars, Venus, Mercury. So, for instance, when you see Mars, a natal Mars is in Aries, for instance. Let's say, sorry. You've got natally your Uranus in Aries, for instance. And Mars is coming along. Mars is transiting that Uranus. You can see that time, and you can predict very closely that this will be a bit of a manic time coming to the surface. And you can warn these people. You can warn, like, look, around that time, let's say the 1st of July up until the 14th of July, it's going to be a bit dangerous for you, because that part of you will be important around that moment. So and this helps, because this person can say, okay, around that time, no alcohol, for instance. I have to stay away from these people because these are trigger. Knowing your triggers is again a thing that astrology can really help you. So knowing your triggers, and just make sure that you're not being triggered. And the same at Saturn. You can say, for instance, let's say Mercury is approaching your Saturn in opposition, for instance. So that's only if Mercury is not going retrograde. That can be just a period of a couple of days, but that's can be a trigger of getting in a depressed state again. Again, it's more than that. It's looking at the whole chart, but I'm just giving an example of how astrology can really help people to be aware. It's like, okay, it's going to be bad weather around that time, so put the umbrella up. It's a bit like that. And but again, yes, it stays a tough disease to deal with. And I think that a lot of, when you have diseases like, very serious diseases like cancer and all kinds of diseases, that there is a lot of support of other people when you have that kind of a serious illness. But with a mental illness, there's a lot of not understanding, people who not understand it, and it's also very difficult to deal with. So it's because people need to be strong to be able to deal with a person like that. So I think lots of these people don't get the support always, and that's a bit what I want to do with this video, to give a bit of awareness as well. So having said that is the video about Uranus and about Saturn. I don't know if the trine of Saturn and Uranus is gonna help these people. Actually, could be, because there's you can watch the other video that was about the Saturn-Uranus trine. That is about the stability between these two energies. So having said that, thank you for watching. If you think this video makes sense, just share it, please. And Thanks again, and see you next time. Bye bye.